Hi, everyone. It's Andrea Q. I am here today with Ann. Would you like to be called Ann?
Yes, yeah.
And we've been chatting a little bit. I'm in the United States and she's in Panama. And we're going to talk about self-directed education, a little bit about us, and about how Ann can potentially help if you are a parent looking for some support on transitioning out of traditional education and into self-directed education, or you might call it unschooling, or what do you like to call it, Ann?
I like to call it self-directed education because it's more a positive phrase. You know, it's whereas unschooling, it's kind of you can see it as it's got that negative. I don't know. We just like self-directed education, but I often say it's really the parents that need to unschool, right? The kids are born following their curiosity, having their innate interests and love for learning. So it's us parents that need to do the effort and unschool. The kids are just self-directed.
Yeah, I totally agree. So why don't we just do a quick centering meditation, and then we can talk a little bit about ourselves and our children and our stories, and you can let us know how you can help other parents, because I do see a need for sure. I know parents do need help, and it's great that you have that offering. So I'm happy to share that with other parents. So thank
Thank
you.
you. Okay.
Okay, so we can put our feet flat on the ground.
Okay.
We can relax our shoulders back and take some breaths in and out, letting go of our day, letting go of our morning. We can put our hands on our heart, left and then right hand over our heart. And we can think about something we're grateful for. I know today I'm very grateful because the weather is beautiful and it's warm and sunny, and that's my favorite weather. So if we can breathe and think about our gratitude, think about the things in our current life that we're grateful for. And we can allow this loving energy to fill our body, to fill our aura, to fill our homes and our communities. We allow this call and this conversation to be guided by love and light. We allow our true selves to come forth. We allow this love to be all around us for this call and with us throughout the whole day. We ask this for the highest good of all, with grace and ease. And so it is, and so it is, and so it is. We can relax and come back into the room.
Oh, it was lovely. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I love to become present on purpose. And yeah, so thanks for participating. So I'm so excited. So can you maybe start by just telling us a little bit about you and your children and your path to self-directed education? Just so we can kind of get to know you a little bit and your story.
Okay, so I wanted to travel when I was in high school, especially at 16. I had this burning desire to experience myself and to acknowledge who I am and test myself in the world and see what I can offer. But I felt very much dumbed down, like there were all this pressure on top of me, controlling me. So I became a little bit rebellious. And my dad said to me, I have to study before I can travel. So I studied interior architecture. I did an honors degree also. It was a 4-year in total. And then I went to London and I worked there for 2 years. And I had such high expectations of, okay, now I'm this designer from South Africa and I've made it. I'm working in this Frank Lloyd Wright building in the center of the business center of London. And it turns out it was just like a very mind-numbing job, just repetitive work. And my sister and her husband are architects, and they told me, you have to work for the senior architects for 7 years before you'll be allowed to do any design. And it was such a deflating experience, seeing the confinement of what a job really is, living in London where everything is so, and then hearing that it's going to take me another 7 years before I can express myself, just coming from 12 years of school. So I left everything and I started traveling, backpacking, working. And then eventually I met Glenn, and we were settled in a beautiful coastal town called Hermanus in South Africa. That's just like the most idyllic little town with mountains at the back and beautiful bay with sea, and the dolphins came and bird there. And we had 2 Labradors. We used to climb up into the mountain early mornings and swim naked with our dogs in a big reservoir there, and the baboons are cheering us on. It was amazing. So we fell pregnant with Celia, and immediately we were starting to hear all these expectations that you need to earn a lot of money now. Kids need private schools. You must immediately enroll them in private schools, otherwise they won't get a space. And you should start saving up for university, because by the time your child's going to be ready, it's going to cost millions, and I don't know what, like we completely fell for this whole paradigm of kids need money. So Glenn got offered a position in Johannesburg. It's the financial capital of South Africa, very fast growing telecoms company. We packed our bags. Celia was 3 months old. We thought, we'll hit the city, make a lot of money, and then we'll go and live our dream again,
Plan?
Yeah, and I didn't realize I had a little bit of postnatal depression. So I had a very nice little community supporting me. So when I arrived in the city and I didn't know anybody, it really hit me hard. And I was alone with Celia, and Glenn was immersed in figuring out this new career. So about 1.5 years that I spent with Celia at home, I started looking for a job because I felt like I really need company. I also very social. So I found this lecturing position, and I started lecturing the students at the Interior and Design College, put Celia in a small little nursery. She was crying. My dad said to me, Andrea, all children cry for the first 2 weeks. That's just how it is. But you're doing such a good job. She really needs to be social with other kids. She needs to have that space from you as a mom. This is completely natural. So Glenn would drop her off in the mornings, because I took on my session, started very early in the morning at 7. And while I was lecturing the students, they gave me all these life skills subjects as well, because I kind of realized I'm really coaching the students more than I'm teaching them. So I suppose I had this natural ability to coach, and I wanted to create that, to ignite that creative spark and that curiosity in the students, because when I was an interior architecture student, we had an amazing team of professors, and they really were able to expand our minds and really made us curious about life and the evolution of creativity and what's happening in the world through the design, and how design is changing the world and how art's impacting. So I really wanted, and I felt like the students were so uninterested, unmotivated. So the one day I asked them, okay, what do you really like doing? And the one said, well, he's training to be a helicopter pilot. The other one loves singing in the church choir. The other one bakes. The other one just goes home and DJ. And I say, well, what are you guys doing in a graphic and interior design college? And they all said, well, we're going to make money. That's what you need to do. You need to choose something where you can make a lot of money. And I was kind of at that moment thinking about Celia being so unhappy at the nursery school and thinking to myself, what will happen if I allow Celia to go through this whole educational system and end up in class in front of me, so unmotivated, uninterested, and the only perspective is the one I bought into. We need money, you know. Mm-hmm. And then we decided I'm going to stop my lecturing, even though I really loved it. We pulled the kids out. By then, Henry, it was so silly, you know, I made such silly mistakes. When I fell pregnant with Henry, he came in December, and the new year for lecturing started in February. So if I took more maternity leave, because in South Africa, you only get 3 months maternity leave. If I took more maternity leave, then I lose all the subjects that I've been prepping for the last couple of years. Then I have to take whatever subjects are available, which means I have to make up my own teaching curriculum again. And then with 2 children, it's going to be super challenging. So I employed someone to be with Henry, and I left him at home when he was 3 months old. Mm-hmm. But I said to myself, you know, I'm only working in the mornings, 3 mornings a week, so it's not so bad. But, you know, knowing what I know now, I would have made completely different choices. But in any case, so at that stage, I started, we got the opportunity, Glenn and I, to study NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming. Glenn's been wanting to do that all his life. So when the opportunity came, we both enrolled and we did timeline therapy as well. So that really helped me. I realized that even through my traveling days, where I really uncovered who I am and I was able to find my passion and really kind of gain myself again after all the rebellious stage, there were still so many ingrained conditioning that I had to let go of, and that was influencing my ability to be a mother to my children, and I could see how that's impacting them. And I really got to understand how children just imprint the belief patterns of their parents and the people around them. Mm-hmm. So when I saw insecurity in my daughter, I could then immediately see she's imprinting that insecurity from me. So that really fueled me, and I started coaching other clients, and then my daughter kept asking for play dates, and I said, Celia, we haven't been in the city so long, I just don't know so many people that I can keep inviting over to my house. So I started a play group, mm-hmm. and we wanted to kind of, there was this idea that we can form a small little group for smaller children that can feed into this first Satpiri that then opened in Johannesburg. Okay. So there was, by synchronicity and divine plan, I'm sure, all the families with really small children were in my area. So the founder of the Satpiri said, why don't you guys just meet at your place? Because by then I already kind of created a cottage with a play area. We were thinking we're going to do homeschooling, and we wanted my neighbor to be the teacher, but her husband all of a sudden lost his job, and they moved to Dubai within 2 weeks of us opening up. So the cottage was standing there, and we had the playground. So we started the play group, and yeah, we had some arts and crafts and things for the kids to do, a little bicycle track and swings and whatever. But really, us parents sat on the porch watching the children play, and I was just talking to them about what's coming up in the coaching sessions and what's been coming up with me trying to move into this unschooling and allow the kids to express themselves freely and to follow their own paths. And in this process, we realized that when we allow ourselves to be really vulnerable, and we can really say to each other, you know, you won't believe it, but yesterday I fell for that thing again. The children didn't want to do what I wanted them to do, and I shamed them. I said, well, you know, I'm feeling so tired, and how could you not respond to, you can see how tired I am, and you don't even want to do this one thing for me, you know, or things like that. Then our parents would open up and we would form that really deep connection and share our journeys. And that really helped us to be able to unschool ourselves and to assist our children through that unschooling process. So we sometimes call it deschooling or what. Yeah, so that's like the entry point of my story of how we as a family. Oh yeah, and if I can take a few more minutes,
Yeah,
um, when we realized that Ben's so stuck in his corporate job. So as the kids and I were becoming free and we are able to express ourselves, we are able to be guided more by our feeling states, and the creativity is flowing and we're just in flow every day because there's no strict, you know, like we have to do this now and that. We just go on the flow. Then Glenn has to get up every morning and go to this job. And it started feeling to him like he's back in school, like this corporate ladder, the hierarchical structure, the power struggles, you know, the undermining and this whole, and we realized really for him and for us as a family to be a self-directed family, he needs to get out of his corporate job and he needs to start following his passions and claim back himself also, become the hero of his own story, because essentially that's what the kids will model, right? The kids model. We can't keep saying to them, follow your passion and your interest, and then dad gets home completely exhausted from another grueling day at the office. So Ben, that put us on a whole nother level of exploration.
awesome. Wow. Thank you for sharing. And,
Yeah.
I think for most people, and I had a process of, for me, it was a process of, letting go of my fears and worries. If my child didn't go through a traditional system, would she then not be successful? So I had, like you were saying, I had some fears and some blocks, and it definitely was a process for us. So it's cool to hear about your process, going from, you know, education to work and really following the traditional path, but then realizing like, wait a minute, this isn't for me anymore. So that's awesome. And it's great to hear that you were at a Sudbury school. And so that's really cool. And now, just if we even want to just fast forward to right now, so I know that you and your husband have created a community in Panama, which is so awesome because so many parents I know, spiritual parents, and even people that aren't parents, so many people I know in the spiritual community right now are looking for community, and they're looking to take their day back, take their time back, and be free and be in the flow and to go with the flow rather than, pushing a clock and having all of those time constraints. And so yay, congratulations. Can you tell us more about how are things going in Panama? And even, if people are watching this on the replay, like, can they apply? Like, do you have room for more people? And tell us all about that.
Okay. Yeah, it's been incredible. So our plan of action then to get Glenn out of a corporate job, we kind of quickly got into the debt system also in the city. We start buying cars, buy a house, etc., etc. We do the typical thing. So we bought a house on a deceased estate when the housing market was really, really low in South Africa in 2018. And then Glenn and I were just, because of both of our design background, and Glenn's got a really good construction background, we're just working on this house.
Mhm.
So our idea was for me then to do online coaching and get a location independent job. And then we've got this pool for Central America. I lived in Mexico for a year or so on Isla Mujeres. And I really love the vibe of Mexico. And I said to Glenn, it feels to me like it's heart-centered people still, but not so in their minds. And it's, so anyway, I don't know why we have a school, but the plan was to travel around since COVID hit. And I read on some of the world schooling groups, some people got sent back to their home countries. And for us being from South Africa, that would be very difficult for us to be able to send us back to South Africa and then having to come back at a later stage and pick up our stuff in Central America. It's not really an option. So this one morning I woke up with such a clear vision, we need to start community. And my first question was, where must we start this community? Where? And I remember Glenn found this piece of land on an island in Panama about 2 years before. And he kept saying to me, look at this stunning piece of property. This is the most beautiful piece of land with this beautiful forest and a quiet bay and coral reef and dolphins and whales and manta ray migration and everything, fresh water. And at that stage, I said to him, no, there's no way Celia and I are going to be isolated on an island. We are way too social, that's not going to work. But in any case, this land popped up in my head immediately, and Glenn and I started talking about it, and we started thinking, well, let's start a community there, and what would that entail? So with us, we have such a clear understanding of what it took for us as a family and what it will take for us as a family, for me and Glenn to live our passion, and for the kids to have a rich environment, because I felt like, for me personally, so this is a personal statement. It felt to me confining to do unschooling in a city, possibly because it's Johannesburg and we live with big walls around us and electric fencing, and it's not safe for the kids to leave a yard. So they cannot go to the park on their own, they can't ride bicycles. And I just felt like it's too restrictive, there's not enough exposure and a rich environment. But when we all come together as families and all the parents are living their passions and in flow, all of a sudden you have this rich environment for the kids to learn music from that one and see this one's passion for cooking and watch that one sitting under the tree immersed in reading, whatever, everything becomes a learning opportunity. So, but the problem was, because we've tried this with our community in Johannesburg, where we want to bring skills in, but when we say to the mom, okay, can you come and do sewing classes? She's a fashion designer, let's say on Wednesdays from 10 to 11, then it goes well in the beginning. Some of the kids lose interest, or all of a sudden a toddler now wants more attention. She starts feeling restrictive. So it was so difficult to manage that to manage that resource sharing, can I say it like that? So this idea came that if we live in community, on an island also where there's potential danger for smaller children, with a beach on the one side and the sea and the rocks on the other side, do we really want to employ facilitators and hand over that responsibility to them? And what does that entail? So I was thinking, if we can redesign this whole idea and make it a decentralized system, where you still maintain the main caregiver and caretaker of your child, because also the idea of living on the island is not to drop your kids off at the center. The idea of the island is to really have time to spend with your child, Like Glenn really wants to spend time with his children. He doesn't want to drop them off. So this idea that we can create this online calendar system, and if I know the waves are going to be good, and say, look, I'm going surfing from 8 to 10 tomorrow morning, online calendar, and I can take a couple kids with me. or if someone's going snorkeling, you know, I can take a couple of kids, or Glenn's in the wood workshop. He can say, look, I'm going to be busy building it all morning, but I can show some kids the new machinery in the workshop from 3 to 5. And then maybe tomorrow it's a really windy day and I'm going to be painting at the clubhouse. So I can say, look guys, I'm going to be painting today. Anybody interested? So we designed then the system that's for, and we called it a self-directed community, where everybody can inflow, and the community is geared around meeting the needs of a whole family. So we can do land vehicle sharing, boat sharing. We can have a
Oh, hello. It's freezing up a little bit. Are you there? Hmm. Hi, everybody. Sorry about that. We're back. And Ann is going to tell us kind of finish. I wonder where it cut off. So I remember you were talking about, it just sounds so awesome. I mean, you know, you have families working together where everyone can be in the flow. They're sharing resources. The children are free. The parents are free. You're living right with nature and on nature. And you found this beautiful piece of land on an island. It sounds so awesome. So congratulations. And like, are you currently like accepting new people? Are you looking to build, or just for
yes.
anyone watching? And really, for, I mean, I might be contacting you at some point for my daughter and I, but yeah. So are you open? Right? How many families do you have now?
We have about 7
Wow.
that are fully committed and about 4 on the outskirts of it. So we've been building community online since last year, looking to see if we can find the right match of like-minded people. So we are the first ones in Panama. They'll be arriving in July and August, and then they'll be checking out the land and then make the final decision. And then in October, if everybody's happy, then we'll purchase the land. But we're completely open to people, you know. It's going to take a lot of people to actually pull it off, because there's a lot of logistics that comes into play, you know. So we need a lot of people to actually make it work. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, well, what I'll do, because I'm in your community, which has been so fun to watch. So what I'll do when I post this video, I'll put the links. I'll put the link for your community, because that's open. If anyone wants, the Facebook group, anyone can join that just to find out more. And then if they actually want,
Sure,
because I
that's
know,
open.
which is so smart, you have a whole process for people to join the community. And I love how it has some healing in it, because what I know for sure with my journey, and we do play dates quite often. We're very social. I know you said you are too, but you know, I think this lifestyle sounds so great, and then you start taking steps, and I think what naturally happens is all of our fears come up, and even trauma, and all of our you know, which is a good thing, because it comes up to be healed. But a lot of times I needed people to help me through that. A lot of them I couldn't work, you know, it was just so much easier to work with a coach like you, or a professional, just to get through those challenges that come up. So to get to a place where you can be happy and in flow. And I think that with self-directed education, the parents' buy-in, the parents' belief in it is a huge factor, because that is what really sets the environment to be calm and relaxed. And that's when the creativity flows. I think that if it's a stressful environment, if the parent is trying to execute unschooling, but is feeling very stressed and is not executing it properly, it can fail. Because really self-directed education is really based on peace and nurturing and freedom, but freedom in a way that there's a lot of belief that the child can be successful naturally rather than needing to follow a very rigid plan. So can you talk to, if you can just like, what kind of parents you help and how you help them?
Yeah, Andrea, it's so important for us to share our stories, because if you hear a mother with a 9-year-old boy that wasn't interested in Rudolf Steiner curriculum, and then she just left it because they kept on bumping up against each other and she was losing his respect and his trust, wanting to enforce it because for her it was so beautiful, it's in story format. And then she unschools for a couple of months and all of a sudden he just teaches himself to read. Then when you hear the story, it just, it's going to be okay. Because of course those fears come up all the time. But if you have a small group of people, or you have someone that has heard of other people's stories, it really gives you that confidence to take the next step forward and to say to yourself, you know what, it's actually going to be okay. And there's so much research that we keep on sharing with each other and to remind ourselves that play is the highest form of learning. And if you look into that research, you will find it and it will be very black and white. It is the highest form of learning. So just let your child play. And then be curious to see what comes up for you where you struggle. Like you're saying, if you go into the observer mode and you realize, oh, I have this fear of failure, or I'm fearing that I'm not a good enough parent, then that's the stuff you bring. And then we have techniques to quickly sort that out. So sure, you can overdrive it consciously, but there's so many tools in the healing and coaching industry that you can release those, and it's a permanent change. And especially maybe I can just say on fear of not being, or feeling I'm not a good enough parent, that's really something you want to address, because the dynamics of your child will not balance out. Because in that fear of not being good enough, you're going to overcompensate through guilt, or your child's going to subtly manipulate you because they intuitively know you're feeling not good enough. And then it becomes this completely out of balance dynamic. And once you move into that position of, I am good enough, you will see within 10 days, your relationship with your child will be completely different. And that's what happens with unschooling. You feel this resistance. Like let's say screen time is a big one, or healthy eating, and you feel this resistance and you've got this emotional trigger around it. And exactly where is your healing journey? That's the flag that's showing you this is the first thing, the next thing you need to work on. And come to a coach, go to a healer, do it yourself, but that's your opportunity. And once you can uncover why you have that resistance, all of a sudden everything goes back into flow.
Awesome. I feel like it's getting a little, it's breaking up a little bit, but can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can. Yes.
Okay,
No,
awesome.
it is breaking up a little bit, but I hear you.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing. I can think of, so many parents, and when you do coach parents, you said you coach moms and dads, do you talk to the children at all, or do you just focus mostly with the parent?
There's been instances that I've done sessions with children. So I've kind of transitioned now into biofield tuning, where I use tuning forks.
Sweet.
Where we use vibration straight where the density is held in the field. So let's say you feel fear of the future, it will be around the eye center area. And I can then go in with a tuning fork and break up that stagnant density or access the first event or the root cause of that with a tuning fork. So kids really like that because they don't really have to talk so much and you don't have to go through uncovering what's the dynamic. You can kind of just let them lie on the table and intuitively pick up. So we can even use a pendulum to check which area is most needed to work on.
Awesome.
And I can do that online also. We just envision the hologram, the person lying on the table. And I record the session so they can hear the sounds and hear what's been coming up. But I must say, I think my focus is with the parents more. I think I've got a better, or my passion's more for the parents. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think that's just so awesome, and you know, I'm so happy that you're offering these services, and I just think it can be so helpful, especially since you're using energy tools to help parents. So I found, I mean, I started to have some mental health issues when I was a child. Um, so I started to get into self-care and kind of traditional counseling, which, you know, all in all, it was really great. But when I started to get into the energy work, things moved so much faster for me. I felt like in therapy, literally, I went to therapy for 20 years. I think I talked about the same problems for 20 years. And it helped, but for me, traditional seemed, now looking back, I started getting into this type of stuff in 2007, just so much faster, especially, you know, with the healing techniques and the energy techniques. I feel like I can really, and especially with a coach that's using them, it's so much easier to address the
Yes.
situation, to clear it, and then I feel like there's some healing after that, you know, of stepping into a new person and, you know, kind of mourning the old person. So I do see it as a process, and having an energy, you know, energy support is just, I think it's awesome. So I totally, you know, I mean, but I also think you have to kind of click with the practitioner. So if there is anyone watching that feels like they need help, what would be the best way? Like, can they Facebook you, or I can always put like an email in, but do you want to just say now, like the best ways to contact you if anyone's watching this?
Yeah, they can send me an email. My email address is annreeray, ANNREERAY @gmail.com. So
Okay.
that would be the best method for now. And then we can take it from there. So I schedule an introduction session where we can just chat a little bit and just get to know each other and make sure that I can assist you with whatever problem you have and what kind of modality will be best, might be suited for that individual person. Because now I find that also I'm doing a little bit more of timeline therapy the last couple of months. And then, yeah, we just schedule a session. So it's kind of easy to do online. So that's amazing that we have this also available, you know, it just blows your mind that
Yeah.
you can work distantly on people. It's so amazing.
Yeah, I think that's something, just like personally, what, you know, with COVID happening, and yeah, I know that it's been all of the emotions and all ups and downs. And I think one of the silver linings, one of the benefit is, I think a lot of us has realized like how much we can actually do online and how much we can do remote. So yeah, I think it's awesome, and it's great that you've evolved to have those offerings. So really, do you typically have clients in all different countries? Or do you have like a specialty, or just really, it's really just about transitioning from traditional to the self-directed education?
At the moment, it's a mix of so many things. So I've had clients from Europe, Kazakhstan, and America. So those are the main countries I've been working with. But also I've been very involved in forming this community online. So a lot of my time's been going into that. But then I've realized that I also have two other main focus areas in my coaching practice, and that's narcissistic abuse, healing from that, especially if it's a parent that's healing from their parents' abuse,
Okay.
and also autoimmune conditions.
Okay.
So I've trained a little bit with a practitioner in South Africa that really understands autoimmune condition and can bring in also the physical aspect of a healing, not just the emotional, spiritual, and mental. And then the deschooling or the self-directed education, I'm also offering a long-term kind of like a course where I become a mentor for someone to hold their hand through those initial months of transitioning, because sometimes it can be very chaotic for a parent when they realize I have to pull my kid out of school and then immediately face the other parents' questions, and then the bigger family start bringing all their fears, and you have to navigate, and you don't have access to all the research yet, you don't really understand. You kind of have to stand your ground with the extended family. So we've got some of our families joining now, our community in Panama that's going through this phase. And I find it very helpful to just, do a call when they're in the midst of it and say, I'm really stuck now. I've got this issue and it's just bogging me down. I've lost my drive. Can you please just help me through it? So there's also that kind of ongoing mentorship, that I do.
Awesome. Well, great. I mean, it's just about, we're at about 1 hour, so we can start to wrap up a little bit, but that's awesome. I mean, I can think, I know so many parents just from my play group, and this is probably this might be a good time for you, because what I notice in my homeschool play group is that a lot of people up here in America switched to homeschool because of COVID. And now I know at least 3 moms that like love it. They want to keep doing it, but the husbands are like, no, that this children needs to take the traditional path to success. So that would be so great, if you can help them. And then the other layer of it, like you mentioned, is even if you do get both parents on board, okay, we're going to homeschool, we're going to unschool, we're going to self-directed. And then your support team, your family, your village is like, what, what is that? It's funny. I just randomly ran into some relatives yesterday, and they said it was during the school day. And they said, well, why aren't you at school? We're not very close to these, but they're, so they didn't know. And I said, well, we homeschool. And they said, oh, well, you'll be able to get back into school in September. And what I realized personally is I just said, yeah, we're thinking about it, and, we're in good shape. And so anyways, dealing with extended family and coming at it in a way that you can still feel confident what you're doing, and having a way to answer people, and to, what I learned is just not open the can of worms, especially like we were at a restaurant, just literally bumped into each other. And I went through kind of a defensive phase, and I also went through an excited phase where I was like, this is the best thing I can tell everybody. And that didn't really work well.
No, because it not only brings up people's insecurities and all their fears, but now also they want to stand their ground. So they want to motivate you of why their decision is right, because you've kind of stirred the beehive now. So by making all of these stories up of why this is my idea is really a good idea. And then some people you can go into debate with, but it's easy sometimes to lose a little bit of your footing and lose your centeredness in this process. And if you have someone that you can talk to and just say to you, okay, let's see. And so that's what I do in my coaching practice really is when it's just a reflection showing up, and you might not have control over your outer world and what influences is coming to you, but you have control how you're going to respond to that. So let's look at what is the underlying pattern playing out here, because it's probably a limiting belief pattern or it's a stuck emotional state. And, then we just release that, we clear it, we release and go on, story, end of story.
Yeah, it's just so amazing. And it's, I used to think that it did take, 5 years, 10 years, that it took all this time. But what I realize now is it really doesn't have to. And when we do come to these, blocks and challenges, it can be difficult, but once we overcome them, and it can be done really fast with energy work, it almost adds more to, I feel like it enhances the relationship. And when you have such a strong relationship with your children and everyone is on board with being free and being creative and living naturally, it's an amazing place to be. So thank you for your work. And is there anything else you want to tell anyone before we end?
We were bringing up homeschooling. So we've talked a lot about the more traditional sense of homeschooling. And what our perspective on it from a self-directed standpoint is that if there is an authoritarian belief in the family of giving your power away to an authority, then homeschooling could work for such a family because it's part of a whole culture in the family. But the problem comes in when you attempt then to do self-directed education and you want to maintain that level of authority in your household. That's where the real challenge comes in. And that's often when moms find that they end up in a corner where they feel really fatigued and unsupported, because they're trying to uphold authority, but also have that deep sense of trust with the child. But that dynamic is just not there. It's not a balanced state to be in. So if you see parents doing traditional homeschooling and on the surface, it looks like it's really working well with them doing a set curriculum and the kids are achieving, and you feel that insecurity coming up of, well, if I look at my self-directed kids and there's not all of this achievement going on all the time, right. Just take a step back and look a little bit deeper, and you will see it's because that those children are still living up to the expectations of their parents, and they are still achieving for acceptance and to have social status. And that is the real challenge we face, is to really transition out of that paradigm when it, and do self-directed learning in a successful way.
Yeah, I think it changes from, if I do this, I'm going to be accepted, and having a plan and having someone to say, yes, you're good enough, you're good, that constant reassuring. But then when you go the self-directed, you have to really get that gratification from inside. And that comes from trial and error and following your passion, and maybe however you're learning, maybe you get really excited about something and then you're watching YouTube videos, but the satisfaction does come. It comes from a different way. So I think it's kind of transitioning from, this is the way I usually get my my reassurance from, but now I'm getting it. But it's there. So I think it's just changing the way we look at things, for sure. And learning to say, well, like you said, just take a step back and say, this child is reading, and she's excited about Roblox and,
Yeah.
and that's good, and she comes to me and says, oh my God, I just built this new world. And that inner excitement, that inner drive, that inner passion, that's the reassurance, that's the moments of where my parents used to get a report card and say, oh yes, okay, well,
Yes.
you're good enough for the time
Yes.
being, you're good for until
Yes.
next semester, right? But where the self-directed, we get that reassurance from inside and just from seeing the
Yes.
joy and passion. Because once you see that they're able to get so excited and so fulfilled with coming up with, hey, let's make brownies, and then they follow that the whole way through, not only do you have that fulfillment, but then you say, this kid can learn anything. She can learn
Yes.
anything. She can do anything, start to finish, including cleaning up. So I think the gratification is bigger, because then you're giving tools for life rather than a temporary tool to study, pass a test, and move on. Now she has a life skill of
Exactly.
knowing the process of taking a project from a thought, just an idea, taking something from idea to completion is just amazing. And not all the projects get to that level, and that's probably something else parents
Yeah.
talk to you about, but we do have those moments of just satisfaction and awe, and
Yes. That's when you take notice and you file it away for when you have that low day, you go back, oh yeah, I remember now why we are doing this.
yeah. Awesome, awesome, great. Okay, well, thank you so much for chatting and all this information.
Thank you.
This conversation has fueled me, so I appreciate it. It's so nice to talk to people that are doing it. We're doing it, I'm doing it, you're doing it, and it's working. And I do feel like I have a great relationship with my child,
Yes.
and that's,
Yes.
it's amazing. But it is also important to continue to build community and have support. So, I appreciate your coaching business and your community, and I'm so excited to just keep watching and, watch it just continue to grow for you.
Oh, thank you so much for inviting me to chat with you, Andrea. I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to hear about your little play group also. And it sounds awesome.
Awesome. Yeah, let's keep in touch. And I'm going to put all the links in. Yeah, I'll put them all in. But basically, there's an education group that I'm an admin, and then I'll share all of your information as well, just so people can find us and reach out, and we can build the
Yes.
community for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Well, thank you
Fantastic.
so much. I'll upload this and I'll share all the links. And I appreciate it again. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Andrea. Have a beautiful day and say hello to Valentina.
Yes, and say hello to your children too. Good luck in this your phase of really building a community from the ground up. So
Yeah, yeah,
awesome.
yeah, it's crazy. All
Have fun.
right.
All right. Bye. Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you. Thanks. Bye.